Welcome to another episode of IFS Meditations and Insights, a podcast dedicated to exploring the transformative power of the internal family systems model. Here we delve into the depths of self-discovery and healing, providing you with practical meditations to apply what you learn. IFS is an innovative approach that empowers individuals to understand and nurture their internal parts, fostering inner harmony and self-compassion. I'm your host, Tim Fortescue, an IFS practitioner specializing in spiritual growth and healing. Whether you've experienced religious trauma or you're just seeking guidance on your spiritual journey, I'm here to support you. In today's episode, I'm going to play a recording of a podcast where I was interviewed last year, and some of the offerings that I mention here are dated and have already passed, but know that you can find out about my individual and coaching groups by visiting my website, faithfullygrowing.com. But grateful to the following that this podcast is getting, and hopefully this episode can help you understand me and my journey a little more. Before we get into the interview, I do want to let you know that I have some one-on-one coaching slots available in my coaching practice and a few sliding scale slots available too. So if you need some support, reach out and book a free consult through my website. But let's jump into the interview with a little courage and curiosity if we can.
Well, I'm super excited for our guest today. It's Dr. Tim Fortescue, and we are ready for a raw, real, and authentic conversation. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what you do and what you love.
Well, Mary, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to share here. And so, put simply, I am a spiritual life coach, and what that means a little more specifically, and we'll talk about more as we get into the interview. But I have a seminary background, and my doctorate is from a seminary. But having said that, I have gone from South Carolina to San Francisco, and now I live in Wisconsin. And so a lot of background, a lot of ground that I've covered, and faith, the same thing. And so my passion is connecting with those folks who may have been drawn to their faith at an early age or whatnot, but for whatever reason, they have kind of grown distant from that faith, or they're turned off from it. And so just really being a pastor type for people who may have a stigma with pastors that they may not be comfortable going to them. And so wanting to connect with them folks and to let them know that just because of some of the trauma or negative experience that they've had, that they may not need to give up on faith and that there is hope. And so connecting with people in my coaching practice with that is what I'm passionate about doing.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that because you hit so many areas that I really feel are so key. Definitely, Tim and I share that spiritual life coaching. But I really love what you said about, just having that connection with those people that maybe have lost a little faith, but never given up hope. So that's just so powerful. And I know he's got so much information to share, things that he's working on, and I'm super excited about that. But what really inspired you to get into the ministry of leadership?
Yeah, and so I like to let people know, first of all, that my plan, it wasn't a burning bush moment or something like that. It's really just been stumbling, taking that next rocky step in front of me. My journey began in, as I said, South Carolina. It was the first in my family to go to college. My mom was illiterate, and kind of my faith community, church community. That's who helped me preview colleges and kind of get to that next level. But growing up in that environment, it has just, so I stumbled on, was the first to go to college, and found out about some internship opportunities in California. And that's what led me to go to seminary and to move in the San Francisco area for 20 years. But wasn't just some calling from an early age saying you need to pursue this calling, but really just taking that next rocky step and trusting and not having to have it all figured out, living in the mystery. That is more what has propelled me and has kind of led me on this journey than anything, I guess.
Oh, that's really interesting. Where you started and how far you've come. I look at that, I hear you saying that leap of faith, that rocky road. I mean, you really took that leap of faith in your own journey to get to where you are, which is really cool. You've shared with me that you've lived or growing up in the Appalachia. What really was something so profound about that journey that led you to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I think in looking back, I can see kind of more of how different that life was. Growing up, I wasn't too aware of it. But looking back, I can see, and now I'm married to I met my wife in San Francisco, but she's from here in Madison area, and we moved back about a year ago to be closer to her family. But just realize that upbringing, on the one hand, there's some trauma there that just neglect and that I wasn't even aware of. And I'm still in coaching and therapy to work through some of that. And so just trauma and bad experiences. And most of that's just neglect, not of something that has happened to me that's horrible. But seeing that and learning from that has been helpful. And then on the other hand, I had a family who loved me dearly, and just being, like I said, a mom that's illiterate, a working class family, poverty, again, that I wasn't aware of until getting out of that. But I'm also seeing the positives of how being able to connect with people who may be hurting or may seem that things are hopeless, and to let them know that there's a way out. And so those have been the big things. There have been blessings with the family upbringing, but also some hurt, and being aware and trying to integrate all of that into my life has been impactful.
Oh, that's wonderful. What came to my mind as you're sharing your story is the strength that comes from our weaknesses, right? And you don't know what you don't know. So you're living your life, growing up in this family, just doing your thing that's what you know of. I have the same kind of background. And so you don't know what you don't know until you get out in the real world and you experience different things. And then you become aware of there's a whole world out there. There's a brighter light that's shining, whether inside or out, right?
That's right. That's right.
And now you get to share your journey with other people to help them along theirs, to give them that light and hope. Yes. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Along your journey, is there anything that you can think of that was like instilled into your life that you still practice today?
That's a powerful question, for sure. I think just the hard work, and I'm coming at a more healthy place from that now. At first, it was just, I'm inferior to everyone. I've got to please people. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, no matter what. It has the effect that it has on you personally. But now I'm seeing from a more healthy place that work ethic and really just having to make things happen. I didn't have a family legacy that put me on a higher level to get to where I am. And so it required a lot of work. But I have found, I think, yes, that worth ethic, but also knowing that I need to love and value myself in the midst of that. And so it's kind of the two worlds, kind of where I am now and where I've grown, but also that kind of maybe not from the healthiest place, like, dry it up or pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, paired with me loving myself and valuing myself has been helpful. And so again, integrating those two together are a good thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell our audience what you've been working on. And you've got some exciting things coming up in October. So what is that all about?
Yes. And so a lot of the training that I'm doing right now, and similarly, first of all, I mean, my certification is life coaching. And often when people hear that, they're thinking, and nothing wrong with any of this, but, here are my 5 goals. Here is how I need a coach to help me achieve that and move forward. And again, that's valuable and important. But my training is more, mindfulness and introspection and looking within. There is, if any of those that are listening have seen the movie Inside Out that came out by Pixar several years ago now, but just the idea that at our core, we have a self, a beloved self who God loves and we can love, and kind of the synergy of God and us together, that's where we are at our best. And in that movie, it talks about the different parts that are outside of that core, that self or beloved self, and my anger, our anxiety and whatnot. And so all that to say is I'm trained in a model that helps you tap in to who you are at your core, but also to be aware of those voices that we often want to push away. But we found that when we invite them in, there's a Rumi poem that comes to mind called The Guest House, and where it's talking about of these just seeing those negative emotions or what we see as negative, instead of trying to push them away, just see them as a guest. And we're there to just befriend them. And when we do, it reframes, and there's a lot that those parts can teach us. And then we can integrate them. Kind of what I've talked about already is integrating what was maybe more negative, but when we welcome it, see what it has to teach us, there's a lot to learn. And so I'm trained in that model. And so some things that I have coming up, first of all, every Friday, I host an hour coaching group of where we map. I lead you through a process of where we map those parts that are going on inside of us. And usually it's in reference to something that has triggered us. And so that is on Fridays. And then on October 8th, I do a 3-hour virtual mini retreat, and it's tapping into just the idea that we are God's beloved. I use Henry Nouwen's material in his book, Life of the Beloved, but just tapping into we are beloved human beings. We have that beloved self, but there's also a lot that we can learn from our experience to what we have tended to push away. And so that's coming up on October 8th. And all of this, as well as some other things, are on my website, faithfullygrowing.com.
That's awesome. Could you give us an example to go into your whole process? But say, for instance, there's somebody listening and they're suffering from anxiety, and they just heard something or went through something that triggered it. They're really anxious right now. How do you befriend that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I can give an example of, a few weeks ago, I received this email. I had reached out to someone to just share about my coaching services, and they wrote back and said, we don't really need this right now, and very respectful. And I respected their boundaries, but kind of shut me down. And I knew that what I was reaching out to, if they could give me a minute to just hear me out, and if I could have a conversation like this, that I think there'd be a lot more commonalities than differences. And so that experience happened. And I just encourage people, when something like that happens, or if it's even more acute and more intense than that, but just to pause. And first of all, just get clarity of those parts that come up in reference to that email that I received. There was a part that felt shame, and there was a part that felt like, if they would just get to know me, there would be some commonality, or sadness and fear, rejection. So these are all the parts that came up in me in light of that email. And I encourage people, first of all, just to pause. There's a big thing in the pausing. And when we pause, that awareness of what's coming up around that, and realizing too that these parts aren't bad, they're all welcome. But I found that at my core, it's not fear-based, it's not shame, it's more curiosity, compassion, calmness. And so realizing that we're not at our best self of God and us together, or however you want to frame that. But this part that's wanting to feel understood does have something to teach us. And so I encourage people just to pause. And also want to say here that if this doesn't work for you, I know that your experience, I don't want to feel like I know it all. And I know there's some hard experiences to where maybe you can't welcome it right now. And that's okay too. That's a part. And so let that part know that it's okay, and just be with it. But I found that just pause, increase awareness, realizing who we are at our core, who we were created to be at our best, and just engage with these parts, or maybe just even know that they're there if you can't engage with them. And that has brought growth for me.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful, because I think, I always share with my clients about embracing what comes forward. And but you can see, especially in our world right now, where there's so much, our mindfulness, our mentality is just in such a dark place, and I see so many people suffering with how to get past that, how to break that darkness into light,
Yes.
and I love that about taking that pause. But that's sometimes can be a really thick wall or high wall, however you want to look at it, to get through or climb over.
Yes, for sure. And I encourage people too to reach out for support. Maybe it's a coach, a therapist, but just know that you're not alone.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. So what's your favorite thing about coaching? Do you have any, besides your model that you're doing, is there something else that you love about what you do?
Yeah. Well, I love, as hard as it is sometimes, of just the growth that it propels me to do on my own journey, but also just connecting with clients, and realizing too that, first of all, that a lot of the pressure is off of me, because clients have the resources within to do much more than I ever could. And so just helping them see that potential, learning from, walking alongside, being an ally when I need to, but just the intuition and what we all have within us when we tap into it, and walking along folks in that journey, and just being surprised at what unfolds, and what folks are capable of has been exciting for me, seeing the change and the unburdening and the freeing that comes from that.
That's awesome. What do you do daily to stay focused? and not go backwards when you have a trigger or something goes on? What do you do?
Yeah. And it does happen. And I do go backwards. And in those moments, trying to be gentle with myself and loving, much like I would love and be gentle to others, and know that that God is gentle with me too. One thing with my upbringing, I've been having to reframe not who God is, not because God changed, but because a lot of the frame that I had in my mind of God really wasn't God at all. And so knowing that I'm loved by God. And so when I'm triggered, knowing that I'm going to go back at times, and just not being hard on myself and just trying to ground that all in love is doing that. On the other hand, just trying to get up. And I've gone, so a lot of my journey is I've gone from Southern Baptist to Episcopalian. And so right now, just the liturgy, the ritual of getting up in the morning, lighting a candle, spending some time in mindfulness, and just the daily offices right now are life-giving for me. And that's something, sometimes I'll miss 2 or 3 days though. So don't look at me like I'm perfect, but just trying to just tap in to those rhythms and doing it regularly. And if I fall off, getting back on, and I think all of it, just being gentle with myself.
Oh, that is so true, because I was struggling probably a year and a half ago, and I was questioning myself, like, why, what's wrong? And I became very intentional. I set my alarm. I get up the same day or same time every single day, have the same ritual. And I'm not gonna lie, there's some mornings like, oh, I just want to stay in bed. But once I get up and I'm staying intentional, it's such a beautiful thing. And you get back on track, your focus is there. And so I agree with you 100%. I mean, if life happens, your time gets away, or you skip a day or two, just be gentle. And I always say, give yourself grace. It's just,
yes, and change it up if you need to. I mean, sometimes my mind it's good to vary things up a little bit, and be aware too when I'm doing it. Just because, again, growing up, a lot of that fear base is this is when you're going to do your quiet time every morning, and lighten up with yourself a little bit, and kind of look at your intentions behind it too.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this podcast talks a lot about, build, transform, and thrive. So you think of those 3 words, what is along your journey, what you would say I went from building to transforming to thriving?
Yeah. And what comes to mind when I hear that is the idea of, I like Richard Rohr, and he talks about the faith journey. And he uses 3 terms of disorder, order, and reorder in light of our faith. And give me your 3 words again, Mary.
Build, transform, and thrive.
Yes. And so I would say with those 3 words, kind of that disorder in my faith has given me a time, when you tear things down, you can, build it back up again. And then kind of that reorder of that. I see that as kind of building. And so, our order. So he would be disorder, order would be that kind of building it and transforming it, and then kind of reordering my faith. And I feel like that's where I'm thriving right now. But I think my thriving is not that I've built it, transformed it, and got it all back together where it's figured out, but it's still more of a mystery. But being content in that mystery and not having to have it all figured out is really where I'm thriving. And I think I'm in a constant kind of being okay with the mystery and also being okay with constantly reordering and building, there is a thriving in the midst of all of that, but it's not clear cut. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, I actually love that. I love the disorder, order, and reorder. I don't know. It just makes you think of my three words, but it's putting it all in place. But what you said about thriving in not having to know it all figured out.
Yes.
That was probably the biggest eye opener for me. And so when our audience gets that, oh, it's just so empowering. You don't have to have it all figured out. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just stay in your own lane and do your own thing, because we're all called in different ways. And I want so bad for people to see that in themselves. We all have those beautiful gifts inside of us. That's why, I've had this, and I'm sure you have as well. Oh my gosh, there's a million coaches out there. Yes, but not everyone resonates with you.
Yes.
And so who might resonate with you may not with me, or vice versa. And it's okay.
Exactly.
That's the beautiful gift of us all being so different.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Well, what else can you tell us about being the beloved? Is there anything else you want to share about that?
Yeah, well, I just think of that growing up, and those spiritual teachers and mentors that I have, they were doing their best. And I want to take a minute too to pause and speak. If there are any pastors listening, when I say I'm trying to be a coach to those who may have a stigma with pastors, that I value the work that pastors are doing and want to empower and even be a resource to maybe take some of that load off there too. And so it's a both and with me there. But I'm sorry, Mary, ask me your question again.
I was asking about your being the beloved, if there was something else that you wanted to share with that.
Yes. And so and that's where in growing up, those teachers that were doing the best they could, but I was often told, you need to put God first, put others first, and then maybe yourself. And again, not that that's exactly what they were meaning and it's not what Jesus was meaning, but I'm finding that it's okay to love myself. I've got to love myself and see that loving God. And I was told at times growing up, that's soft, all this love talk, but it's not to kind of dilute or water down anything, but I found that we do have to love ourselves. You look at John 14, I believe it was, and Jesus, when he was baptized, the Father saying, "This is my beloved Son with whom I'm well pleased." Before he had done anything in ministry at all, he was beloved. And I find out with ourselves that we're beloved. And it's okay to prioritize that. And it's not being selfish, saying, it's all about me, but it's also not being selfless, that it's all about others. There's a balance there. And we've got to love ourselves. And the outgrowth of that, again, it's a mystery, but good things come when we have that basis there.
Yeah, I love it. You do. It's a balance. It's a balance. And a balance is so important these days. That's awesome. Well, I'm super excited about that. Your website name is just so perfect. I love it. Faithfully growing, because really we all are. We are truly growing one step at a time. So it's just beautiful.
And it's interesting, the business people ask me, how did you land on that? And it was a domain name that was available for like $14.99 a year. And so I snatched it and ran with it, and still coming together.
Yeah, but it's so fitting. I mean, with everything. So it's awesome. What would you say is a legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah. Well, I have 4 kids, and obviously when I hear legacy, think about that, and sometimes I wonder if I'm leaving the best legacy. But even when those voices come up, I'm doing the best that I can, and breaking through a lot of cycles. And so some good things are happening. So I encourage people in that, just be easy with yourself. Their parenting is hard, and leaving that legacy is hard. But when I look, ideally, is just in my family and in clients or those that I come to meet, of just seeing healing that is brought through people being the beloved, loving themselves, seeing that loving God, and really want to just leave a legacy of people loving themselves, loving God, and to see the healing that can come as a result of that. And so looking back, if my kids can see that, if others can see that, like Tim was a person who taught me to love well as he was struggling and all the messiness, but also trying to love himself, is a legacy I want to leave behind.
I love that. Love self. And it's so true, because when you, I don't know, as you're describing that, I just think that no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it with love, how can you not give the best gift, right? Because we know the greatest gift of all is love.
Yeah.
So if you're loving yourself, you're loving everyone around you, you're walking it, your thoughts, words, and actions all equal that. It's a wonderful balance in life. Can't get any better or worse, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So is there anything else you'd like to leave with our audience and how they can connect with you?
Yeah, well, I would just say that the theme of what we've talked about is that if there's someone out there that's listening who is doubting that they're loved, or feeling that they're alone, feeling disconnected, not finding a community or kind of their people, quote unquote, to connect with, that there is hope, there is connection, and that they're not alone, and it's okay to prioritize themselves as they serve and work among others. And so just want to leave with that. And if I can be of assistance, or if folks would like to know more about me, they can find out more at that website, faithfullygrowing.com. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to connect if it feels right and if it makes sense. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I hope that it has inspired you to nurture more self-care and compassion. If you found value in what you heard, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button so that you never miss an episode, and share it with your friends and family too. Your feedback means a lot to me, so please take a moment and leave a 5-star review if you have some encouragement, or shoot me an email if you have some suggestions that I may be able to implement to improve the podcast, and just let me know how I'm doing. And if you have any questions or want to connect further, send an email to me at tim@faithfullygrowing.com. But I look forward to hearing from you, and until next time, take care, stay curious, and embrace every part on your journey.